How many people here have a mobile phone? How many people here have chargers? How many people have to walk to charge their phone? It'll be a challenge. I mean, walking 1 to 2 hours a day to charge your phone is not just time consuming, but it's expensive. People are spending as much as 20 to 40% of their daily budget on clean energy sources. So our goal is to connect the unconnected and underserved through our portable smart system. So SMART stands for sustainable, modular, accessible access to renewable technologies. Just last month, we were just celebrating Hub Week. We were invited by Hub Week as one of the top 100 startup change makers. And Hub Week was founded by the Boston Globe, Harvard, and MIT. So the way we got started with this is I was doing an around the world trip. I work for Dentsply Sirona. My former boss is here, so if you see me a bit nervous, this is HR. He was the vice president of HR, and he's retired, and he was nice enough to come today. But we started traveling around the world, and I saw people didn't have access to electricity. And we wanted just basic light just to get around the house and get around the villages, and also for kids to be able to do their homework. So this solar lantern was very popular. People utilize this very easily. You put this in the sun for 8 hours, and it'll give you about 6 to 12 hours of light. What's also unique about this is you can put it in your pocket and you can carry it around. So Africa has all this sun, and now we can harness it with things such as solar. So as you can see here, this is how a woman in some of the rural areas in Africa will use our solar lantern. Safety. Sometimes kids are walking late at night to get to school, or even sometimes early in the morning. They're walking 1, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, just to get to the nearest school. Now, if you're in this situation right here, and there's no street lights, as you can see, if you step near a snake, he's going to bite you because he doesn't know that you're coming. So things like solar lanterns are able to help people in a major way. And we partnered with some of the most prestigious companies in the world. We partnered with Royal Dutch Shell. We branded their logo on the solar lanterns, and they gave them out as part of their corporate social responsibility and used them for some of their marketing initiatives. We work with Save the Children, Oxfam, CARE International, and AIG. They use these for some economic livelihood programs, hand washing programs, and also to make sure that kids can do their homework. Many times kids want to do their homework, but what they're using kerosene. And kerosene can be 10, 20, 30% of your daily budget. So sometimes you may not have the money to be able to pay for kerosene, not to mention the fuel from the kerosene. If it spills over, it can burn down your house, and just breathing that in is just yucky. But what we realized is that although people love the solar lanterns, everyone had a mobile phone. Well, 70% of the population had a mobile phone, 30% of the population had access to charge them. So people were saying, hey, Antonio, why don't you just charge phones with this? And that's nice and all good, but what we figured out is we can actually create a business in a box. We're able to help entrepreneurs. So no one wants to charge their phone here, but this is the way people live in rural Africa. I spent some time in Freetown, Sierra Leone. This is a city center in West Africa. So it's not even just the rural areas that have this issue, it's the city centers. And this lady here, this is her business. Who wants to hear that while they're charging their phone? And she's charging over 80 phones at one time. She doesn't look happy at all. I mean, look at her face. She's got to hear that generator, and then you bring your phone to her. You pay her anywhere between 20 and 50 cents to charge your mobile phone. And at times, because there's no system, there's no lockers, you may get the wrong phone, and then you're saying, how do I get another phone? Because someone else has my phone. So when I was in Africa, I didn't want to leave my brand new iPhone there, right? Because I knew I wouldn't get it back. So what SolarFi decided to create was a business in a box. As you can see on the left, we can charge 100 mobile phones at one time. We have a TV screen there, which is used for advertisement, but more importantly, educational content. For example, Mondays is Medical Mondays. So we can teach kids best practices of dental hygiene, oral hygiene, and hand washing programs. I just left the Greater New York Dental Meeting, which is one of the largest dental meetings in America, and we had a meeting with the head of Colgate. And Colgate's really excited to partner with us because some of the kids don't understand basic things such as brushing your teeth. I mean, some people in America don't even know how to brush their teeth properly. But now we can teach them how to brush their teeth in the correct manner. Tuesdays would be Tuesday Tech Days, where we can teach kids how to code. And at the grassroots level, for kids who maybe they didn't go to elementary school or middle school, we can work with Microsoft, where we can teach them basic things such as Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. We can use Microsoft Skype Skype's technology, where we're working with Sage College in Albany, New York, State University of Albany, New York, and those students can now Skype with kids in Africa and mentor them and teach them basic educational needs. We're empowering women to run these entrepreneurs. We all know that, well, maybe you don't know, but in Africa, if the man gets the money, the majority of the time, the money does not come into the household. He may go buy beer, he may do other things with it. But when women have earned the income, the money stays in the household and she's a bit more responsible with the income. So we're creating a solar power business system. So it's not just phone charging, but we can also sell goods. We have refrigeration where we can actually store vaccines, food, beverage, teledentistry. As I mentioned earlier, I just left the Greater New York Dental meeting. We can work with teledentistry to work with patient demand. It's cost efficient. We don't have to build large infrastructures. And patients can work with a doctor in America. Let me explain how that would work. A dentist or a dental hygienist in Africa could take a picture in the mouth intraorally, send that through the cloud to a doctor here in New York. That doctor can now see what the patient needs. They can treatment plan, they can prescribe, then email the information back to the patient and the medical doctor or assistant, and they can say, well, the patient can go home, the patient doesn't need anything, or I recommend that the patient does X, Y, and Z. These things are all possible with Microsoft's technology and SolarFi's technology. You can't do any of this stuff unless you have access to the internet and have access to power. So we talked about Microsoft's Skype capabilities. We're using Microsoft Azure for the backbone, so we're able to communicate utilizing the cloud. And what's unique about SolarFi is we address 11 out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now you may say, Antonio, why don't you address 17 out of 17? Well, most programs only address one. For example, Save the Children will work on a hand washing program. Well, they need to teach kids how to wash their hands properly. I don't know if you heard, but in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea, they had Ebola because they weren't washing their hands. Germs were able to spread. That generated billions of dollars in donations, but it only addressed one goal of the Sustainable Development Goals. So we're addressing no poverty, good health, well-being, quality education, gender equality, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, and reducing inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption. If kids are learning how to use solar energy for their basic energy needs at a young age, later on in life, they'll continue to use it. Right now, their understanding of energy is a generator. So we put together what I call an all-star team. Some people might know Jerry Shea here. Jerry Shea went to Columbia University here in New York. He was the director of international trade at New York State and worked in Venezuela and served in the Peace Corps. Isha Varshney worked for KPMG in several countries, including London, Dubai, and Hong Kong. Glenn Butler is our CTO. He's working with some of the IoT, the software engineering, electrical engineering. We actually have Alex Heiss in the back of the room. Alex, wave your hand. Alex worked for Commerce Hub. Commerce Hub, within 8 years, went from zero to just exiting for at $1.1 billion. Alex was one of the first employees. He worked at Grubhub in Silicon Valley as well. So we have a really good team that's putting together some of the technology. Myself, I worked at Dentsply Sirona. I was one of the top regional sales managers, worked internationally with the company. I served as a political advisor to several African politicians, and then I also served on the board of directors for the YMCA. Our advisors, some people may know Dr. Ekwo Spiogabra on the top right. He's our chairman. Dr. Spiogabra is the former ambassador for Ghana to the United States. He's also the former energy minister, trade minister, and also education. So Dr. Spielgaber's job is working on putting together a private-public partnership. Yvonne Kamati, she's the former ambassador for Kenya to the United Nations. She's all about female empowerment. And Estelle Sowa is the CEO of Google Ghana. So we're trying to work with some of their existing programs. So at SolarFi, one of the benefits is when the sun goes down, life doesn't have to stop. We all know that when it's dark, there's no street lights, crime can happen, and with SolarFi, people can continue into the evening, whether it's with education or just meeting with their friends. We have commitments with the UN, the United Nations Development Program. We're going to be doing a pilot project in Sierra Leone to empower 60 women. So in summary, globally, 1.2 billion people in the world don't have access to electricity. About half of those are in Africa, 600 million people. We're using cell phones to draw people in, and then we monetize them, we educate them with the educational content. So for example, with teledentistry, a lot of people don't like going to the dentist. But if you're spending 20 to 40% of your daily budget on charging your phone, and we say, well, if you see the dentist, we'll give you 10 free hours of phone charging, you're a lot more likely to go see the dentist. So that's how we're able to captivate them and be able to encourage them and educate them. And there's many different ways that people can get involved here. One is you can go to backmycampaign.com. As I mentioned, Charles Toohey is willing to contribute $75,000, but only if we match his contribution. Some people may want to become an ambassador. We have ambassadors in Boston, in DC, and they're getting NGOs involved, and they're dealing with the local community. So we're SolarFi. Our goal is to connect the unconnected and underserved through our portable solar charging stations. Thank you.